What is going on, everyone? AP over here at Run Pure Sports, bringing to you the Strokes Gain Show. I'm here with my two guys. We got Hoop, we got Snyder. I got to bring Snyder in first this week because I had this two-day golf event this weekend, Friday, Saturday, the shorty here. Snyder, what were you serving me? Because I was feeling really rough on Sunday, like really, really rough. And it takes a lot to get me to that level. It's a long day of golf. It's a par 3 course. It is, you got a teammate, and we played alt shot. We played best ball, and you play 2 nines, and there's 2 waves. And so it's really slow, a lot of drinking. Then there's a horse race. We were not in it. And so we were drinking more. And then Snyder shows up to the party and makes me drink even more. So I wake up Sunday hurting pretty bad. Snyder, what's going on, my man? How'd your night end up Saturday night?
Yeah, it was a fun time out there. I came out there to change the pins on the 4 holes there for the playoff, and then I stayed around and had some drinks. It was a good time there. It was a good crowd, a lot of people there. Everyone was having fun, good food, a lot of good drinks there. So it was a good time there. It was good seeing you there and everybody else there.
You were feeding me beers. You're like, you need another one? Like, you need another one? I'm like, geez, man.
I knew where to find them, and it was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good event, good time. How'd your weekend up last week? Was it profitable?
It was doing all right until Cam Young decided to shoot like 12 under on the final day. That kind of sunk my main team, but it was an all right week. I think I ended up losing a little bit, but nothing terrible. I mean, my main team was looking all right until Cam Young I'm not even sure what happened to him. I was playing golf that day too, but I seen he shot like 11 or 12 over on Sunday.
Yeah. Hoop, let's bring you in. How's it going, my man? We just did that MLB show earlier. Now we're on to golf. We kind of joked about this field, but yeah, as we talked pre-show, it's pretty dusty. How are you feeling about this week?
Yeah, I mean, this week's very challenging for a couple of reasons. I mean, we have this field where there are some, top end names. You got Scheffler, Justin Thomas, and I guess if you still consider Rory to be a top end guy, he's up here too. And then it falls off like super quick. And then you come down to the really cheap range and there's not much there. You throw in the fact that we don't have course history here. The last time that they played here was in 2010. You can take all that shit and just throw it out the window. And on top of that, we got the U.S. Open next week. So what sort of motivation do these top-end guys truly have? So there's a lot of question marks this week. Makes the week very, very tough. I think definitely it's going to be a high variance week. I think we see a lot of crazy scores. I think, it's a good week to maybe just, scale back and chill a little bit. That's probably what I'll do, to be honest with you. I just don't see the reason to push it. Unless you absolutely love this and you think you got a hidden gem or you got a good read on the situation, go for it. But for me, I'm probably going to, scale back a little bit and make it more of like an entertainment type week, unless we get some overlay.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Good week to dial in your process, rework, the process that you use. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing a Saber Sim show with our guy from Saber, and I think we're going to walk through our process. I'm going to walk through my process, and I'm going to show you guys how I use Saber, what I do with the projections. It's a little bit different than what a lot of people are doing out there, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's just kind of my process. And so we'll walk through that. I think 1 Eastern tomorrow, members only. Snyder, let's kick it over to you. Talk to us about this course. We haven't seen this course in quite some time. Going to be a lot of unknowns going into it. Give us a course overview.
Yeah, we're at an interesting golf course here. St. George's is a short par 70 measuring just over 7,000 yards. Very small bentgrass greens here, around 4,000 square feet on average, which is very small for a typical PGA Tour event here. They're going to roll at around 12 on the step meter. There's only going to be 3 holes with water in play, but there's going to be over 100 bunkers that litter this property. These small greens will also host many false fronts as well, making strong iron play that much more important here to hit these greens. This is a unique course setup here as well. We're going to have 3 par 5s and then 5 par 3s here. The par 3s are going to play long, while the par 5s are all gettable here. So this track's going to be heavily tree lined as well. So we need to find some golfers that are very accurate off the tee, as hitting the fairways is going to be key here. the smaller greens should lead to some really good looks at birdie though. So if you can hit these greens, I think you're gonna have a lot of good looks at birdies, and you can score well here if you can get the ball on the green and go and good in that point, and with the approach play and such. Some of the key stats I'll be looking at here: strokes gained approach, fairways gained, birdies are better percentage, par threes 200 to 225, and then putting with emphasis on bent grass. And early on, it's looking like there's a pretty good chance of rain Wednesday night into Thursday morning.
Yes. Okay. So the rain's going to make it easier. The one thing I know, all right. So our boy Tambo, we all love Tambo. He is our number one Canadian employee. He's our favorite Canadian over here, and he's our sharpest Canadian over here at Rump Your Sports. We all love the guy, but the one thing that we know about this event is like the winner is going to be like 20 under. It's going to be a birdie fest. I've heard like some things like this could play tougher. I'm not buying it. If what's his name back in 2010, Pedersen, the Swedish guy, if he can shoot a 60 here, these guys with modern day equipment are absolutely going to torch this course, especially if it's soft. And that's going to bring a lot of variance into it this week, because you're going to see a lot of guys that are unknown that are going to be able to, like, distance is not going to separate things. I don't think these fairways are really going to separate things. So it's going to come down to the undulating greens and approach play and making putts. So it's going to be a high variance week. So very good breakdown, Snyder and Hoop. I'm really with you on, it's a good week to be prudent with your bankroll. Let's do it. Let's dive into this. How we do it each and every week. We go tier by tier. It's going to be really interesting, because when we get down to the 7 and 6K range, I think those ranges are going to go very quick, because there's just so many guys down there that are so bad. You'll see it in the Vegas odds and everything. It's very difficult to play them. So it's going to be a very interesting breakdown. Hoop, start us off with the 10K range.
Yeah, 10K. I mean, it's actually solid. I mean, we have some names up here, and like I said in the opening, it falls off pretty quickly. So I mean, you got to make some decisions up here. Scotty Scheffler at 11-1 just seems too cheap for me in this sort of field. And you can say the same thing for Justin Thomas at 10-9. Now, when you come to roster these guys, if you're going to play multiple guys up here, you got to dip down low to get some value, and that turns into a problem pretty quickly, because there's not a ton of guys down there. So for me, my favorite up here is probably going to be Scotty Scheffler. I think he's just, the best. He bounced back after that miscut at the PGA Championship, lost in the playoff at the Charles Schwab. Definitely interested in him. I'm also interested in Justin Thomas. He big mistake on my part. I feel like playing him at the Charles Schwab. The first sign of things going in the wrong direction, he just caved in after winning the PGA Championship, mailed it in, and finished the round in disastrous fashion. But he's not going to want to miss 2 cuts in a row. He's not going to want to miss a cut going into the U.S. Open. I think he battles for us. Rory, I'm so sick of Rory. I'm not going on the rant. I've ranted about the guy so many damn times, but it was just typical Rory last week again, where he gets close to that lead. I believe he was 5th place or something. After 2 rounds, he looked to be in solid condition to maybe make a run at the thing. Gets close to that lead, and he starts going backwards. So it's either with Rory, he gets off to the fast start and then goes backwards, or he's way back and then makes this big charge to the top and never has a chance to really win. It's so frustrating playing him. I just, for mental health reasons, I just got to be off the guy. It is so damn tilting. Cam Smith, 10-3. I don't think I'm necessarily going to go there at 10-3. I'll take my chances. Shane Lowry at 10-1. Continued a solid stretch. I mean, last week was probably his worst performance in about a couple months. Finished 32nd. Really couldn't get anything going. Got nothing going round 4. I might play him. I haven't decided. And then Sam Burns coming off that win at the Charles Schwab. The one thing that's nice about playing Burns, man, he has the winning upside. Rory doesn't have the winning upside. Sam Burns, he does win golf tournaments. So I might just kind of make a habit of being back on our boy Sam Burns moving forward, because when he's on, he has a chance to win. And that's what you want for DFS purposes. So, I think I just talked myself into Burns. I really wasn't, fully sold on playing Burns, but I think I'm going Burns. I'm going to play Scheffler. I'm going to play Thomas. And I think Burns might be my third guy up here.
Yeah, I like it. I think I'm going to talk you into maybe a little Rory. We'll see though. You're gonna,
as a friend, I just told you, like, I got, mental health issues going on with Rory, and now you're going to bring me back down that track.
I mean, the problem is this field. This is a field where he should be able to dust, but we'll see. I'll try to make my case on what I'm going to try to do. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to accomplish it because one thing that we always want to do over here at Run Pure Sports is get overweight on our guys. We can't play everyone. And so I do think that maybe there is a way to play all of the best plays this week up in this top range while also getting overweight on the field. So a couple things I'm going to play around with. Snyder, let's bring you in. Let's talk about 10K and up, starting with Sam Burns, all the way up to number one player in the world, Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, I'm going to be right back on Scotty the Kid here this week. I mean, he just keeps coming in. Every time he's been priced at 11K or higher, he comes in right around 15% or lower the last three times. So I'm going to be right back on him. It's easy to get overweight on him when he's that low owned. I think he's going to quote unquote bounce back from that playoff loss last week. And I could see him coming in pretty strong here. He's been hitting over 70% of his greens and regulations over the last 10 events. I mean, he's playing on another level this year. I'm going to go right back to him here. I think he's going to set up pretty well at this course too. So I like Scheffler up top. JT, like Hoop said, he kind of trolled everyone last week at the Schwab. He came in as one of the more higher-owned golfers too of that week, and then he goes to posting that picture on Instagram of him sitting there with a Modelo and the trophy, just to really try and piss off as many people as he could there. But I think I'll probably go back to JT this week. I'm actually going to try and play 3 or 4 of these guys up top. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to Rory. I like Rory. I mean, from a results standpoint, he's been playing really good from a results standpoint, unless you actually watch the rounds, and then you'll see that he usually has 2, maybe 3 good rounds, but it's enough to it's usually a good round there at the end for a late charge for him to backdoor a top 10 or a top 5 finish. But I mean, that'll do pretty well for us this week in DFS. But I'd actually do like Cam Smith quite a bit down here at 10-3. He had an outlier bad ball striking performance last week, but I think this course is going to set up really well for him. He can club down off the tee. He doesn't have to get too wild with the driver. I think his short game's been right there too. So I really like Cam Smith here this week. I think he's going to come in as one of the lower owned guys in this range too. I think Rory, JT, Scheffler are all going to be higher owned than him. So I like going to Cam Smith at the lower owned guy in this range. Burnsy and Lowry, I just don't think I'm going to be able to get to them if I'm going to play Cam Smith and Scotty and JT. I'm not sure if I can fit Rory in there too, but I'm looking at trying to go more stars and scrubs this week, as I really don't like the mid-range and the 8Ks and 7Ks as much this week. More so with me on these, I want to try and maybe even lock in 2 or 3 value plays and just hope if I can hit those value plays, I can have a ton of outs up here up top if I can get a lot of these guys up here at the top. But I think I'm going to go Scotty. He's probably going to be my favorite guy, but I really do like Cam Smith for GPPs as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I just can't see how I don't, play like a stud and value type approach. These, like, the separation of talent is going to drop off so quick. It's crazy. And you see it in the Vegas odds. I mean, with Rory, just like I'm with Hoop on him, like it is so frustrating to watch this guy. He's technically the defending champ because, Canada's had their borders closed due to COVID, and we haven't had this event there over the last 2 years. So Rory is, I think, right? There was no 2020. I don't think
they haven't had it in 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 years.
2019.
So Rory's technically our defending champ. I just see this as like in his eye, like, man, this is like an opportunity to to like just stomp the field. So like what I'm saying is hopefully more people are off of him, because I don't want to be like as high on him as we were last week or the week before, but I do want to be overweight on him. I could just see us being tilted next week for not playing him, for just like coming out, playing good and stomping the field, especially if we have a wet course. We know Rory's good on two things. If he can get an edge with his driver, which I do think when I look at this course, I do think it's not going to be your shorter hitters necessarily. I think bombers who are accurate off the tee, which Rory is, could get a phenomenal advantage here when you look at the setup, and especially if it's wet. So keep an eye on that. If the course is wet, I'm going to go right back to Rory, even though, I'm kind of with Hoop on the mental health thing with them. I just feel like guys like Justin Thomas and stuff, I mean, how isn't he focused on the next major? Like, I love JT's my boy, but I mean, does he care about the RBC Open? I mean, I don't think so, but especially with all the stuff going on with the Live Tour. So my goal with this range, because I love all of these guys, I want to do exactly what Snyder said. I want to pinpoint a couple value plays that I'm just going to take a risk on and lock in. I already got one of them figured out who I really like, and I'm going to see if I do that, am I able to get overweight on these upper tier guys? Because I do feel like I see very few scenarios where two of these guys aren't, in the thick of it on Sunday. Like we got Scheffler. He's always motivated. JT, raw talent. Cam Smith has just been so good. And with the forgiving fairways here, it sets up very nice for him. Shane Lowry, one of the best iron players, very good on short tracks. Sam Burns, like both of you said, just an absolute gamer. So it's very tough to identify kind of a top play here. So I'm going to, we're all about, making stands, but I'm going to see if it's possible to get overweight on these guys. I don't know if it is or not, but I know in Discord, we'll be discussing it on Wednesday, and, probably on that show, I'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow because it'll be a lot about playing with the projections. But the one question I have for each of you, Snyder, let me start with you. Is there anyone you're just fading in this range?
I think it might be Lowry. I've been on Lowry quite a bit, but 10-1's I think it's just too much. I'd rather play Cam Smith for 200 more. Burns is 10K flat. If I can fit him in there, I think I would play him. But I think the two guys that I would probably be lowest on in this range would be the two guys at the bottom here with Lowry and Burns.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. Hoop. Just, same question, probably Rory, right? And then take us into the 9K range.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll play Rory again, suck myself right back in there. Who the hell knows? I always come on here and say I'm done with them, and then I play them. I don't freaking know. Because you think about it, and man, like if he gets one of those 12th place performances, that might be okay this week. Like, he doesn't necessarily need to win with such a huge gap in talent. The more I think about it, like, man, we don't need him to win. If he can get like 10th, that could be good enough. So I might have to reconsider there. To me, the guy that I do feel most comfortable fading up here would be Lowry as well. It's a big price increase for a guy that we typically don't pay this much for. So I'd be fine, fading him, I think, up here.
Yeah, very good. Let's go right into that 9K range. There are a few very good options, but there are a few guys where you're kind of like, whoa, like nine plus K, like what are these guys doing in this range? So break it down for us.
Yeah, starting at the top, Matthew Fitzpatrick. I mean, one of the most popular plays last week, and couldn't make a putt. I think he lost like 6 or 7 strokes putting. The approach game was good. The off the tee game was good. Just literally could not make a putt. And apparently, I think his 2 worst putting performances of his career were at Muirfield Village. So maybe there's something to it. I think a very interesting play. If he hits a top 10 last week, he's probably more expensive this week and very popular. He missed the cut. I think it should keep his ownership in check. I do have some interest in him. can't imagine. I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys that, get huge price increases and, whatever. It's the nature of the field, but I can't imagine paying 9.7K for Harold Varner III. Like to me, he's probably the most overpriced guy in this field. Zero interest. I will be back on Corey Connors. We got things trending in the right direction for him. Did miss a cut at the PGA Championship. I believe he was on the bad weather side. We give him the pass there. Outside of that, 6th at the Masters, 12th at the RBC Heritage, 21st at Wells Fargo, and then 13th place last week. Love Connors this week. Not playing Hatton, not playing Finau. I do have some interest in Adam Hadwin. Maybe, actually, I don't know. 9.3 is pretty steep for him. Maybe Hadwin. Munoz, can't go to Munoz. I can go to our boy Kirky. Was on him last week. Wasn't the greatest performance, 53rd, but he's made 3 cuts in a row, 5th at the PGA Championship, 15th at the Charles Schwab. The way it sounds like this course is setting up, I think it could fit his game quite well. So I'll be on our guy Kirky, and then not paying the 9K for Keith Mitchell.
Yeah, very good. Snyder, let's go over to you. 9K range. What are you doing with these guys?
Yeah, I'm going to go right back to Fitzpatrick here. Flop lag here. This is more of a tree line golf course, smaller greens. I think that's going to suit his game really well here. He gained 6.5 strokes to the green last week, the Memorial, but the bad thing is that the putter really let him down. He lost over 8 strokes putting last week. So I'm going to be right back on Fitzpatrick. I think I'm just going to write that last week off as an outlier event. HV3 definitely stick a shock price tag here. I probably won't be able to get to him there. I've played him a little bit, but I think that's just too much of a price tag for him this week. Corey Connors is going to be the chalk in this range, being with this event being back in Canada. I'm not sure how I'm going to attack Connors yet. I'm actually leaning towards kind of fading him here because I actually do surprisingly like Tony Finau this week. I really don't play Finau much, but he's played these shorter tracks really well. He comes off a strong performance, the Charles Schwab, which was also a shorter par 70. Finished second at Mexico also last month. So from a stat standpoint, it looks like Finau, the game's coming along for him pretty good here. Gained over 6 strokes to the green on average over his last 5 events. And he's gaining 2 strokes with the short game as well. So I like Tony Finau this week. 9.4 at 200 less than Connors, 100 less than Hatton, and 300 less than HV3. So I like some Finau. I probably won't get to Hadwin with that price tag. I think he'll be another more of a popular Canadian target here this week. So I'll probably be off of him. Munoz is an interesting GPP target, I think. He keeps making cuts now. It's 9 straight cuts, highlighted by that 3rd place at the Byron Nelson. I think he's a guy that just gets sandwiched here by Hadwin and Kirk, both around him. I think Munoz is a guy that comes in like maybe around 6 to 9% ownership. I think he'll be under 10% for sure. Ranks inside the top 15 in strokes gained tee to green over the last 24 rounds, so I like him for tournaments. Keith Mitchell is an interesting guy here. He's made 8 or 9 cuts, 5 top 20s in that stretch with 4 top 15s. I think I might get to some Keith Mitchell at 9K. I mean, that price tag's up there a little bit, but I really don't like much in this 8K range. So maybe I could get to Keith Mitchell, but I think Tony Finau or Matthew Fitzpatrick would be the top targets for me.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like Harold Varner is obviously mispriced. Like he is the guy that sticks out in this range that just like that price is too high. Everyone's going to see that. And I think it's going to push his ownership way down. But when I look at this course, the thing that he's been struggling with, which is kind of odd over the last couple of rounds, is just hitting fairways. His approach game has been phenomenal. He's been very good around the greens, and his putting's been pretty good. And he's shown upside. He has a win overseas this year. He has a top 5 recently, multiple top 25s. He's like one of the guys in this range outside of like Connors and Hatton, down there, like when you're comparing them to probably Munoz is the one where like you could make the case from an ownership standpoint if you're looking at the lower tiers because it's going to drop off really fast. Like our options are going to go away very quickly. So when I think about who could I see on Sunday being in contention, honestly, I think Harold Varner could. Like the course sets up pretty well for him. And The play, though, is understanding he's overpriced, finding a way to get over on him if you like him, and, banking on him being like 5 to 10% owned. I mean, how at 9,700 with all the guys that we've talked about already in this range, I mean, what do you guys think his ownership's going to be? I mean, Hoop, do you have any like opinion on ownership for him?
Definitely got to be single digits, probably low single digits. I mean, the one thing is, I mean, he is a name and people are going to start going down, and you get to the 8K range and there's not going to be a lot of names to click. So I think he'll get some, but it's not going to be anything substantial.
And so the other thing too is like these other guys, if with the major next week, with that kind of, is their mind on that, it could be an opportunity for Harold Varner or Matt Fitzpatrick, definitely, or even a Corey Connors, these Canadians, to kind of just lock in and get going. That's like one thing I'm considering, one reason why I'm considering guys down in this range. Otherwise, it's like, man, these guys are overpriced. It's going to be it's really, for me, going to all come down to ownership. If I can get leverage on Harold Varner, I'm going to play him. I'm not even like an HV3 guy at all, but like if he's going to be 5% owned due to everyone going up top, I'm going to find a way to get over on him. So I like, it's going to be difficult. I'm not sure if it's going to be possible, but I do know like Munoz 9,200. I just can't do it. Hadwin profiles pretty well. I feel like he's going to get steamed up because he's Canadian. So I'd almost rather like be under or fade him. Finau, it's like, man, maybe he finds it here, but even him, I just worry like he's going to get ownership, and we know he's a major type of guy, and he lets us down more often than not. So it's like he like feels like a guy I would want to cut. So for me, I'm going to Fitzpatrick. The course sets up well for him. He's very good on shorter tracks. This track is right around 7,000 yards, a par 70. He's going to be able to find these fairways. Everything else about his game is good, and he's been really close. He was close at the Wells Fargo, close at the PGA Championship. Getting a win here, I think, would be massive for him. Tyrell Hatton, I have interest in him. Corey Connors, interest in him as well. Kirky, one of my guys, definitely have interest in him. Keith Mitchell, like while he played good last week, I mean, I'm really torn on what to do with him, because I got to start making cuts, because if I want to get overweight on that top range, I got to start making cuts somewhere. So my cuts right now are Mitchell, Munoz, Finau, and that's kind of where I'm at. I probably will have to cut one more. But what about you guys? Snyder, do you have anyone you're just full fading in this 9K range?
Yeah, I'm gonna be off Hatton. I'm gonna be off. It just depends on what I do with Connors there. He hasn't really done well in the Canadian Open in the recent history. I think he's played here 4 or 5 times. Doesn't have that good a history, but he's definitely playing different. I mean, that was 3 years ago. So I'm not quite sure there. Definitely fading Hatton though. I might fade both the Canadians here, because I might just play a lighter, like 50 lineups or something, and just take some more stands and such.
My one like fear with fading them is like they're like the ones that are focused on this, even with the major next week. You're like in their home, like country, like I don't know. So I hear you though.
Yeah.
If you got any fades, feel free to tell us. But then let's start diving down into. It's going to get gross here pretty quickly. Like, oh man, I'm already looking at Justin Rose, 8,800. Who? Talk to us, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing a ton of those guys up there in the 9K. Like, I'm definitely off like Hatton. I'm not going to play Varner. Munoz are the guys that I'm fading. The 8K range is kind of like, if we're doing an MLB show and we get to a game with like a 6.5 total and we're talking offense and we say, you know what? No, thanks. I'm passing. That's kind of the 8K range for me. One guy I think that I see myself playing here, and it's Brendan Todd at 8.2K. Guy that finds fairways. He's a pretty good putter. I think that's good enough to, make a little run here this week. So I like him at 8 too, but man, I can't do it with these guys like Rose, Can't do that. Like Thigala, on him last week. He performed well, 8-7. I can't get there. Vegas.
Real quick. I swear he was in. So I was following Danny Woodhead for U.S. Open qualifying. I might be thinking about someone else, but I believe it was Sahith Thigala. Snyder, how'd he do it? Was that him in his group there with Danny Woodhead?
Yeah, he played in that same qualifier. I think he shot one or two over in that. Yeah, I think he was one or two over.
He was focused on the U.S. Open qualifying too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have an overpriced guy and who hasn't even been there.
Yeah, he was in Ohio on Monday.
Yeah, right. So another reason to be off of him. And then, I don't know. I mean, CT Pan has been playing pretty well. I mean, made a lot of cuts in a row, but no good finishes. Could maybe play him, but my favorite here is Todd, and then the rest I'll just be fading.
The only reason I bring that up, Hoop, is because you're almost naturally drawn to a guy like that. He was T5 at the Memorial. Some have said that's somewhat of a course comp to this one. I don't know if I'm buying it. I think the scoring is going to be a lot easier here. And if you're going from the Memorial to U.S. qualifying to now to Canada, I mean, that's a lot of travel. That's a lot of let down kind of after a top five, a massive deal. So 8,700, I had him ranked kind of up there. I might have to change that here looking at the playbook. But Snyder, let's kick it over to you. 8K range. It's getting very difficult in this range. Patrick Reed did withdraw, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really not too much I like in this range at all either. I do think Todd's a really strong target in this range. He isn't long off the tee, but it won't be needed here as he finds the fairway at a high clip, though, and he's got a really strong short game as well. Coming off that top five at the Charles Schwab, I like Todd. I like Rasmus Højgaard. He's been a guy that's been playing really well overseas. Finished 18th at the Texas Open and 6th in the Pudicana in his 2 PGA starts this year as well. I think he's a guy that'll be 5% or less. He's got some upside too. He's a solid iron player. Just needs that putter to kind of heat up for him to have a strong finish here. I think CT Pan's a guy I like to play in tournaments from time to time. I think he's a pretty solid cut maker here. 7 straight made cuts, ranks 6th in an approach over the last 24 rounds and finds the fairway at a high clip off the tee. So I think it's just mainly going to be those 3 targets for me in this range. I'm not going to pay that price for Rose. I'm not going to play Thigala like you just mentioned. Mackenzie Hughes, I don't think this course sets up well for his game, and I'm probably going to be off of Johnny Vegas also. He has a really tough time finding fairways, and he's really been poor with the scrambling too. Vegas has been, so I'll be off of him. So
the only thing I would fight you on, Snyder, is I thought this course set up very well for Mackenzie Hughes' game. He's done good on shorter tracks where it's more forgiving off the tee. The one thing he struggles with is finding fairways. He's kind of a little erratic at times, much like Scheffler, not obviously on the same level as Scheffler, but also Cam Smith, other guys that struggle finding fairways. So I thought he was kind of a Canadian I was looking at playing this week. I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on outside of price, because he is priced way too high. Yeah. I would get the fading of that, but is there anything else just course wise
the things about him? Yeah, the things that kind of stuck out to me, I was just looking over the last 24 rounds in this field. He ranks 142nd in fairways gained, in 124th in greens and regulations gained over the last 24 rounds. So, you're going to need to find fairways. You're going to need to find greens here. So, those are the 2 things that kind of took me off of him for this week.
Yeah, I got you. For me in this range, very difficult. I'm going to have to make a lot of cuts. And I think I'm good with that. Todd, I think it's fine. I really like CT Pan. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I think you could fade almost everyone in this range as well. I see no problem with that. When you're down to Brendan Todd and CT Pan, who are usually 7K guys, it is what it is. So let's keep it going. Hoop, let's go over back to you. Let's talk about the 7K range.
Yeah, I mean, you get to the 7K range and you start to see a lot of names that we typically see in the 6K range. So, everyone gets bumped up here, obviously, because of the field a little bit weaker, but it is a pretty big range in terms of the number of golfers. A few guys that I have some interest in. Definitely going to go back to my guy, Adam Long. Was on a nice little steady stretch, but there's been a few bumps in the road, missed the cut at the Wells Fargo. And then 35th at Charles Schwab, then missed the cut again last week. I like him in these weaker field events. I really think he can make a little run here. So I'll be back on my guy, Adam Long. Nick Taylor. I mean, if you guys watch this show every week, you know the story. I'm always playing Nick Taylor. He's 7-7 this week, which is not the most friendly price tag, but got to play my boy Nick Taylor. Is Canadian, gets that Canadian bump as well. Smotherman's a guy that I think we've all kind of played pretty consistently, and he continues to make cuts. I mean, last week, 63rd. That's not the greatest performance, but man, he kind of fell apart. Was that last week No, not last week. 2 weeks ago at the Charles Schwab, but a really bad round 4 took him kind of out of it. But I'll be back on Smotherman. One guy that I do really like is David Lipsky at 7.3K. He's made 4 out of his last 5 cuts. He had a 6th at that Mexico event, 25th at the Byron Nelson, 37th last week. Those were some good fields that he had some solid finishes in. So I like him at the 7.3K price tag. Our guy JT Poston at 7.2, I think, is a guy to consider this week. Svensson, probably going to be one of the more popular guys at 7-1, but definitely really like him here. He's made 3 cuts in a row. He's a guy that just needs to make some putts. If he makes some putts, he's going to have a solid finish. If he doesn't, he could be in some trouble. I haven't played a ton of Mr. Gim, but sitting at 7K in this field, that looks like a nice price tag. Our guy Peter Malnati's at 7K. It's been a little bit of a rough stretch for him, back-to-back missed cuts, but I do think this course could fit him pretty well too. So like I said, it's a big range. Those are a few of the guys that I'll be on this week.
I mean, so we know the workbench play of the week, flop lag, is a real thing. I think that's been proven. Gim was one of those guys. It's a course that profiles well for him. And this is, I'm going to tell you right now, like having to do the workbench play, like this type of week just gives you nightmares. Because, we try to go overweight on the play, and, I'm tasked with doing that. And it's like, gosh, what dusty guy are we going to play down here? Like Poston, he's definitely very high on that list, but I'm like, at the same time, I don't want to jinx my guy. He's like my guy. I almost want to just like go right back to Gim, let it run its course, maybe bink the flop lag bench play. Like that's happened multiple times, and let our boy Postman be. But we'll see. We got some figuring out to do. Snyder, we got Snedeker down here, who's terrible. Ryan Armour, who's 7,300, which he's always usually like 6,500. We got we got Martin Laird, who's up there. You got Nick Taylor, 7,700. Patrick Rodgers, 7,700. I mean, these guys that are usually in the 6K range are up there in the upper sevens, So what are we doing with these guys?
Yeah, Snedeker was another guy in that same U.S. Open qualifier. I think he shot even or 1 over or something. So that's interesting that he's here as well. Made the trek up here. Some of the guys I like a few of these guys quite a bit here. I like Pat Perez quite a bit here. He's made 9 of 10 cuts, coming off a solid 26th place finish at the Memorial.
Don't play Pat Perez. He withdrew as well.
Oh, did he? Damn. I was really looking at him. I missed that one.
Yeah, you don't want Patty Perez this week.
We'll run it on courses. Delay. We'll get it edited out, so you're all good. We're not lying.
It's all good. No, it's fine.
Yeah, you're good, bro.
Right on. Another guy up here, Mr. Two Gloves, Aaron Rye, has three top 30s in his last 6 events, made 5 of the 6 cuts. He finds the fairway off the tee at a high clip. He hits greens in regulation at a solid rate, so I think he's a guy that could do well here. I like Tyler Duncan.
No. 2 Gloves?
Yeah,
no.
Mr. Two Gloves.
For 2 Gloves? No. Oh, my gosh.
He's on 8K. He's in the 7K range.
He's like 7'9".
Yeah, he's up there, but for sure. I like Tyler Duncan quite a bit here. He's been pretty good. He's been a good iron player. He's got a pair of top 15s in his last 5 starts, 15th in his last outing. He just needs that putter to come around as he did in those 2 top 15s. Adam Long, I still like him too. Nick Taylor, hoops guy. I think those guys are solid options. JJ Spawn might be a solid option. He ranks 3rd in greens and regulation. He's 6th in ball striking, so I like some JJ Spawn maybe here. Who are some other guys I like? Austin Smellerman. I think he's a good guy. He's made 7 of 8 cuts. Schwab's right there. He's made 5 of 6 cuts. He's got 3 top 10 finishes on the year. 8th at Valero, 7th at Puerto Rico, and 7th at Honda. I think he's a solid guy. Jaeger's right there. Mr. Jaegerbaum did miss the cut to Schwab, but that was the first time he'd lost strokes approach in his last 4 events. He's been playing very well at the Mexico Open in the Wells Fargo, so I think Jaeger's a good guy there. Your boy Gim, I think he's solid right there. He doesn't have the best recent form, mainly due to poor putting, but the guy's hit a ton of fairways. He's a good ball striker. I think this course could set up pretty well for him, so I do like him. I like JT Poston down there. I think he's solid. And I think that's about it for me down here. Maybe like go with Brian Stewart, but I probably won't. Adam Svensson's another Canadian down here. Chase Seiferd's another high upside 7K guy. Our guy Peter Malinetti's back there at 7K. So I think there's some solid options here in this 7K range.
Yeah, I don't like this range or the 6K range very much. I'm going to keep it very simple. I like Peter Malnati, Doug Gim. Svensson, I think, is solid. My boy JT Poston, I think, is also solid. But the problem I find is now you're just like creating excuses to play some of these guys. Like I liked Pat Perez, but now he withdrew. JJ Spawn, another guy that profiles well. Outside of those guys, I'm pretty much off everyone else in this range. Let's keep it going. Let's go down to the 6K range. Hoop. I mean, it gets pretty bad, but what are you doing down here?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'd say overall we typically can find a lot of guys down in the 6K range that we have interest in week to week. This week it's going to change because it's a challenge down here, and there's not many recognizable names, not let alone good golfers or guys who are in it. There's guys you just don't even know who the hell they are, at least for me. If you want to play some of those guys up top, though, you have to at least take a look and take the chance on some of these guys down here. So I wrote down a few guys that I have interest in here. I might add one more. Let me see if I'm adding one more. Maybe. All right. He'll make the list too. Okay. So Vaughn Taylor, I'm always interested in Vaughn Taylor at 6.8K. Bryce Garnett at 6.7K. 2 out of his last 3 cuts, 33rd at Mexico, 15th at the Byron Nelson. This is a much weaker field. This Callum Tarrant guy, I know Snyder, you've talked about him quite a bit, 6.7K. 4 straight made cuts, not the best finishes, but we're just looking for cuts down here. Jonathan Bird was a guy that I added, made 3 out of his last 4 cuts, missed the cut at the Wells Fargo, 6.6K, moderate interest in him. Robert Streb at 6.5 kind of caught my eye a little bit. I mean, there's no particular reason why I'm on any of these guys, by the way. I mean, it's just names. And then maybe Henrik Norlander at 6.4. Somewhat interested, but none of these guys are going to be like core plays. None of these guys are going to be like 30% plays. It's what makes this week so challenging.
Yeah, I agree quite a bit. Snyder, 6K range. Who are you targeting down here?
There's one guy I'm gonna be definitely overweight on in the field. I like hitting on these young guns before anyone gets to them. A lot of people wait to see them produce and show some stuff. But a guy, he was the National Player of the Year, won the Jack Nicklaus Award here a couple days ago. He's finished 7th in his first PGA event at the Puerto Rico. favorite young gun this week. These young guns are coming up ready to compete right away. Chris Gotterup, he's from Oklahoma. I think he's a stud. He just qualified for the U.S. Open as well. I think he's one of these guys that's going to be he's 6'3". I think he should be like at the low 7K range for the field quality of this. So I like Chris Gotterup quite a bit this week. He played really well towards the end of his college career. I think he's going to step right in here and have another solid showing like he did to Puerto Rico. So I like him. Brandon Wu's right there. He's been playing pretty solid golf. 6 of 8 cuts. Lost nearly 10 strokes putting last week, but he still made the cut. Sadashi Kadaira, I think he's a low floor GPP target. He's got a couple top 15s this year, but he's missed many cuts there. I think he's made 4 cuts and missed 4 cuts in his last 8 events. Vaughn Taylor's a really solid 6K guy in this weaker field. Michael Gillich, he's made 3 straight cuts. He's a Canadian. I think he's solid. Maybe like a Max McGreevy at 6'3". He's made a couple of cuts back to back. I think that's about it for me in this range, but I'm going to be overweight on Chris Gotterup. I mean, he could see maybe 5% ownership. He's kind of got some praise going towards him after winning that college award here a couple days ago.
Yeah, very good. For me, Wyndham Clark he pops for me. He looked good at the Memorial. He's very long off the tee. He hasn't been good on approach or putting, but if sometimes like with these courses, if it sets up easier, we've seen bombers have a lot of success. Johnny Vegas it's a different course, I know, but he's had a lot of success at these Canadian courses. So Wyndham Clark, I'm going to have in my pool. Kramer Hickok is a guy no one's going to be on that I have a ton of interest in. He's good buddies, I believe, with like Sam Burns and like kind of that crew. And I just feel like at some point, like this guy was he got in that playoff. I forget who it was against, but man, he hasn't been there lately, but there have been times recently, like within the last year or two, where he's had some really good outings. And I just feel like this is maybe a shot for him to where he could do pretty good. He's been good off the tee, forgiving fairways here, shorter course, maybe an opportunity for Hickok to get it done. Going down, I mean, man, like Carlos Ortiz, he's been terrible. I like his game, but he's been so terrible. Again, I'm going to have him in my pool. I don't like a lot of these guys down here, but I am going to include some of the bombers and then some of the plotters. And I'm just going to kind of try to mix and match them in with those studs that we talked about. So Vaughn Taylor, Ortiz, those type of guys, Hickok, Clark. I even included like, David Lingmerth, who's actually been making some cuts. A name we haven't heard in quite some time, but he's actually playing pretty well. Danny Lee, I think, is going to be my favorite play down in this range, though. Good ball striker, feels like underpriced. I feel like despite like he's missed a lot of cuts and his game hasn't been there, recently, I just feel like if he was 7,300 in this range or in this field, looking at everyone else in this range, I would be looking at him. So Danny Lee is going to be a value that I go to, and that's going to be my notebook play of the week. Danny Lee, good ball striker. Course should profile very well for him. I'm pretty confident that he makes the cut for us this week. He needs some good finishes, and this just seems like a course to where he gets it done. So it's a dusty range. There's lots of guys that you want to just cut out and not even include. Jason Duffler, he's terrible. Like he needs to go, I don't know, like coach or do something. I mean, he is absolutely dust. It's crazy that we keep seeing him in these fields. But that being said, a lot of cuts down in this 6K range. I'm going to have a very, short pool, and I'm going to get overweight on that top range. That's going to be my strategy going into this week. And then, boys, it's ready to get ready for the U.S. Open. But Hoop, give us your final thoughts this week. Then we'll
Yeah,
get
I mean-
into the winners after your final thoughts. And then
Yeah,
we'll
it's just
close
not
it.
it's not a great week. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty, like I talked about. We got the guys at the top. Then after that, it falls off quickly. We don't have course history here. It's been 12 years since an event's been played here, and then we have the U.S. Open right around the corner. So there's some motivation question marks as well. But as always, the contests are big on DraftKings. I would advise not to go like all in this week. Save it for the U.S. Open. You'll make way more, or have the chance to make way more money. So it's going to be just an entertainment type week for me, and we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, very good. Any final thoughts from you, Snyder? Then we'll get into our winners.
I'm going to take it easier this week. I'm probably going to play more stars and scrubs type approach. I may take in my 20 max process here and lock in 2 or 3 of these value guys with maybe 50 teams and make that $5 something for fun. Playing in a member guest golf tournament Thursday through Saturday. So probably just take it easy this week and have some fun with it.
Snyder, go into your winners.
I'm going to go with, I think it's going to be a stud that wins this. So I'm going to go with Cam Smith at 10-1 here. He's got better odds than Rory, Scheffler, and JT. I think Cam Smith's proven that he's got just as much win upside as Scheffler or anyone in the PGA Tour now. So I'm going to go Cam Smith at 10-1. And then for my long shot, I'm going to go with Brendan Todd at 80-1.
Yeah, I like it. Todd's a guy that always randomly shows up and wins. I would not be surprised if he got it done here. And you hate to see it. Drinking water when I was, nicely drinking my whiskey, having a good time. I switch over, get a drink of my water, and it goes down the wrong pipe. You hate to see it. Not a good sign. Who do you got winning this week?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a big name that wins. My big name's a little bit lower down the board than Snyder's. I think Corey Connors gets it done for his home country here. So I got Connors winning, and then my long shot is going to be David Lipsky. Solid golf lately, solid finishes actually too. And this is a much weaker event. So Connors and Lipsky.
And this opinion might change. But I'm going to go with Matt Fitzpatrick wins. I just think, man, he's been knocking on the doorstep. Of course, that should fit so good for him. Get a win right before major. And, I don't know. It just seems like I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Longer shot, I'm going CT Pan, 80-1. I like how he fits for this course. A good ball striker. 80-1 is a good price. I can't go much further than that. It gets really dusty, as we all talked about. So again, I think it's a good week to dial back, consider bankroll, be smart with everything, and have fun with it this week. Hoop, do we have any promos or anything going on right now?
It's got the same RPS heater 25, gets you 25% off your first payment over here at Run Pure Sports. That includes all sports, all content on the website. We have a UFC pay-per-view card this weekend, US Open next week, NBA Finals as well, with MLB going. Just tons of sports going on. We have content for everything, all under the same pricing umbrella. You can use that promo code RPS Heater 25, gets you 25% off on your first payment over here at Run Pure.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, I'm AP. That's Snyder. That's Hoop. Simon, get us out of here.